What's up, everybody? Chase with Everett Chevrolet.
I'm Savannah.
Casey.
And we are here today just cruising in the brand new 2024 GMC Hummer EV. And we thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk to you about some of our new electric vehicles we're getting on the lot. We have quite a few, ranging from Cadillac Lyrics, the most exciting. We have several Hummer SUVs and SUVs. We also just got our brand new Equinox EV on the lot this week. And our Blazer EVs have been around and they are actually starting to catch on. And we just wanted to talk to you about Ultium and address some of the problems in the room. So one of the first things whenever we encounter customers interested in EVs, they like to ask us about is its range. And we have to explain with the lack of chargers that are around right now, range anxiety is not as much of an issue as it could be. And we do have Casey, who has a Tesla, to help explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so the range anxiety thing, we really got over with the, in a couple weeks of ownership of the Lyric that we bought first. It was just that first road trip was really intimidating, and that's a big thing for a lot of people, is that intimidation factor that you get day one of, this isn't like a gasoline or an ICE car where you can just stop and fill it up. You have to plan a little more. It takes a little extra thought. So it's normally about 5 minutes before we're leaving, plugging it in, finding the route, and sorry for ducking down, trying to see the lights. But no, that range anxiety really ended within a week or two of ownership, of actually doing these road trips and seeing how easy it was. Typically, we'll go 150, 200 miles on a trip, and we stop and charge for 30 minutes or so and get going again.
I think just because it's different, it's not gasoline, and there's not, charging stations everywhere, but there are plenty of them along your way.
Well, if you know where to look, they're all over the place.
Right.
Like within 10 minutes, a 10-minute drive of us here, we've got 2 Tesla superchargers. We have a plethora of the third-party chargers that the other vehicles use without needing an adapter. I mean, they're all over the place now.
I think that combats a little bit of the anxiety that people have over, range anxiety.
Yeah, as far as taking road trips with it, and I imagine during the day-to-day travels where you're commuting, going to the grocery store, you really don't have to worry about plugging it up until you get home.
Right.
Man, we charge our vehicles once every week and a half, and that's all we need to do for our day-to-day commute. And that's, because we don't have the ability to charge at home. We exclusively charge at public charging stations. And like I said, my wife spends probably an hour once a week letting her car charge if she doesn't send me with it. And then I charge at work for, once a week. It's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be at first.
It can be intimidating, I guess, the change, from gas to electric, but I think it can honestly save you some money.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, I was spending probably $200 a month in gasoline for my truck prior to getting the Tesla, and I've dropped that number down to like 40 bucks.
Wow.
Now, that's not going to be for everybody, but just in my particular situation,
Right.
I didn't drive. Yeah, I wasn't driving a long distance. It was just these, a lot of low speeds, a lot of idling, and that really just was raising the fuel costs through the roof. But that's kind of where the electric shines.
Well, I know it's been brought up before where people aren't too confident in how long the battery is going to last, and this is newer technology, and we really just haven't had the time to actually see how that's going to play out. With some of these batteries, getting up in higher mileage is not as common just because the adoption of EVs has been a little bit slower.
Well, I want to disagree a little bit there, because I've done a lot of research on this stuff, from people's experiences, and seeing what other people are having take place for them, and it doesn't seem like the batteries are degrading the way they did at first. And I think we've all kind of, we're looking at what we saw that first couple years of EVs really making their way to the front of the pack. that's not the right wording, but when EVs started to become relevant, you'd have battery failures and stuff like that pretty frequently. But it's getting more and more common to see from Tesla and similar brands that are having these out in the world for, 200,000 and 300,000 miles now, that they're holding up. You're not seeing constant battery replacements out of these anymore. And, Teslas are getting really common to see these cars crossing 200,000 and 300,000 miles on the original battery and motors.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, because the battery degradation is going to take its biggest hit within the first 20,000 to 30,000 miles. After that, you really start to level off to a point where it's practically non-existent as you cross that 100,000 mile threshold.
Is that just getting it like warmed up or like?
Well, it's just the initial usage. You really see you take a big hit immediately. It's kind of like the depreciation in a car. You buy a brand new car, you take your biggest hit day one. With EVs, it's not, exactly day one, but, within the first, 20,000 miles, you're taking that big hit. And then from there, it really levels off and you don't have that being an issue. And gone are the days of you having to, outside of Tesla, they're kind of standing firm there for some reason. But gone are the days of you having to replace the entire battery pack. Like with this, you've got, 18 or 24 cells that can be replaced individually, and they're warranted for, 8 years and 100,000 miles.
Right.
And honestly, there's not a lot of people out here. I mean, there are some that keep their cars for 8 to 10 years, but a lot of people trade their cars out after 3 or 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
Some even sooner than that. So, I don't know if that's necessarily a concern that should be, weighed heavily when thinking about buying an EV.
Yeah.
And it was a big factor, like you said, back in the day. We would have to take the whole battery cell out, but with Ultium being modular, it's a lot easier to get to and replace. We don't have to take off the whole body of the vehicle just to access these, so therefore your maintenance is made significantly less.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, with any EV, your maintenance is, tire rotations, washer fluid, 12-volt batteries, and brakes. But now that these are modular, I mean, you're talking about one cell that on average is going to run you somewhere between, $2,500 and $4,000 versus a $20,000 battery pack, like you see in some vehicles still. Well, when we bought the Lyriq, it was really intimidating. I mean, I was terrified. It was my wife's car. I was going to let her do what she wanted. She was confident she could do it and make it work. And I mean, you saw how long it took for me to buy the Tesla. It didn't take, a couple months, and I was buying one for myself just because of the realizing this is not what I thought it was. I'll be right honest. I don't foresee myself buying another internal combustion vehicle unless my needs change drastically, because right now it's too easy.
Right.
And it saves money.
Oh yeah.
That's a given.
Yeah.
Saving money, and then the convenience factor of saving time and money on maintenance is going to be a big change up as GM's really sort of perfected those things. Not to mention the increase in model lineups. You're going to see electric Blazers, electric Equinoxes.
Right.
Over the next couple of years, a lot of the models will have an electric counterpart.
I mean, we have electric work trucks.
Oh yeah.
At this point, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, you're going to see a lot more EVs, so you might as well start getting comfortable with them.
Well, and they don't work for everybody.
Right. Everybody has different needs. For sure.
There are situations where, you can 100% say an EV is not the right answer for you. But if you take into consideration everything, they work for a lot more people than have them right now. If you drive less than 30, 40 miles a day, plug the thing up in your garage when you get home. You never have to go wait at a gas station.
Right.
I mean, when you go on vacation, just plan, hey, when we stop every couple hours for the kids to get out and use the bathroom, everybody wants something to eat, stretch our legs, we just find somewhere we can plug in while we're there, and that 30 minutes or so is going to give us another 150 to 200 miles of range.
When are they going to put solar panels on EVs, because that would be crazy.
It would be really cool.
I mean, they do it for like sprinter vans, you know, people who remodel their vans. I mean, I think it could be possible.
Well,
maybe have like a backup battery that was attached somehow.
Well, it's, you know, there are people out there now that are carrying battery pack trailers for ultra, you know, long distance running in an EV. I personally don't see a massive need for it. Charging is just too quick nowadays. Like my Tesla, it is 45 minutes at a supercharger, and I can go from, you know, 10-15% to basically a full battery.
Wow. I thought it would be like at least an hour.
Yeah. Well, I also have a short range, so it's not like I've got a, you know, a massive battery in this one.
And with Ultium's fast charging capabilities, isn't it around 10 minutes will get you upwards of 80 miles of range?
In certain vehicles, as long as you do the battery preconditioning and you go to a properly equipped DC fast charger that can get the voltage through, yeah. There are some out there now that are doing 350 kilowatts. Now your car has to be capable of that, but on those, my wife's Lyric, it's ridiculous how fast it charges. I saw at one point almost 600 miles of range being added per hour. And now that was at a pretty low battery, but.
So, are all of the chargers like the same? You know how iPhone switched up their chargers for the 15? Are they different ports, different cables? Like.
Yes, there are a couple out there. The biggest ones you're going to see are going to be the ones like GM's using right now. And then the Tesla charger. There may be some changes there in the future as kind of everybody's fighting for supremacy right now, but it's not difficult. Like I carry an adapter with the Tesla, but
okay, so there's like adapters that you can use so you can charge with anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, makes everything a little bit easier.
In the next coming years, I did just recently read that there's going to be a North American standard charger. That's
going to be the Tesla charger.
Okay.
So, but the positive is there are, you know, there's thousands and thousands of the current style chargers, and there's, you know, however many Tesla supercharging stations there are, and carry an adapter, and there's always a charger within a few minutes of you. It used to be, there were places out west you couldn't find chargers for hundreds of miles, but
yeah, that's scary.
Those days are long gone. I mean,
I remember we did a video, I think on the Lyric, or was it the Blazer? I can't remember, but there was a Google Maps interface on the system that you could easily locate along your way different chargers.
Yeah, I mean, in all GM vehicles, they have the Google built-in systems. And Google Maps is quite possibly the best mapping, you know, solution for EVs, because, I mean, this is how easy it is to find charging stations.
Right, like
I mean,
that was super quick.
And if you're on a road trip or something and you're like, you know, I only want the very fast charger, I don't want to take a risk of, you know, pulling up somewhere with a slow charger, you literally just click that button and you can select the speeds, you can select which charging stations you like to use. Like this one here is 15 minutes from here.
We have 3 options within 15 minutes of us, and we are not in a metropolitan area.
No.
Right, this is like small city vibes.
Yeah.
So with EV adoption coming around, you can expect a lot more chargers in the next coming years, and it's already starting to be enough for EV owners, as they're finding they're not having to charge as much as they thought they would.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's nothing for me and my wife. Like we've got, and that right there, that's one advantage of using Google Maps, is it's going to automatically start the battery conditioning process.
Oh wow.
Keeps you from having to do anything extra. But no, like me and my wife and some of our friends drove her Lyric from Hickory to Bristol, which up through the mountains. I do not drive very I drive kind of aggressive in that, because, you know, the EV torque is a very real thing, and they're a lot of fun to drive. We're not going to that charger, so we'll kill that. But
that's another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on, is the performance.
oh yeah, oh, it's ridiculous. Even the lowest powered EVs still, the power is instantaneous. There's no lag. There's no, I've got to let the get up in the rev range to make power. It is instantaneous, which
You can
is
feel
just.
it, like it'll pull you back just a little bit if you're unprepared.
Oh yeah,
Like a roller coaster ride.
yeah. It will throw you back in your seat and make you feel. You giggle like a little kid.
Right, it's fun.
I mean, if you like fast at all,
Yep.
you giggle every time you get into one of these things.
The experience of the performance is just unmatched whenever it comes to internal combustion engines. You may have a preference for that, but you can't deny the fact that EV is going to be the way to go
Oh, yeah.
whenever it comes to performance.
Like
Just
across
like
the
an
board.
automatic transmission to a manual transmission.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
And we may be
it's-
partial to manual, but who isn't?
yeah.
People who don't know how to drive manual.
I mean, the fact that this
Fair.
9,000-pound vehicle is able to accelerate in, 2.9 seconds?
Well,
Yeah.
the truck does 2.9. The SUV does 3.5
3.5.
because it's heavier and lower on power.
Still yet. That is
Still yet, at
3.5
9,000 pounds.
seconds.
Yeah.
9,000 pounds in 3.5 seconds. That's a lot of weight to move. One thing we did want to touch on as well, there is something that the government does for you as a consumer if you do buy EV. Casey,
Yeah.
what is that?
You get a $7,500 tax credit on basically all of the EVs we offer, as long as you qualify. There's certain income restrictions, and the Hummer doesn't qualify because it's too cool. The government doesn't want you to have one. But everything else is basically getting a $7,500 rebate that you can claim at time of purchase. So it's not like you have to wait until your taxes come back. You can just basically take it as a discount or cash down day one.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then for leases, it's to let them basically subsidize that residual value. So like
Wow.
these things, the lease number on this is ridiculous. It's like $1,100 for $100 and something $1,000 truck. And it gets even better for the rest of the EV lineup. To touch on what you just said, with EVs, don't just listen to the talking heads. Do your own research, Look into it. See what you're finding out from people that live in your area that own them. And get honest opinions, because prior to owning one, I would have told you all day long it was a bad decision. You don't need an EV. It's dumb. Don't do it. I bought one because my wife wanted it and fell in love with them. They're a great option for some people. And do your own research. Decide if it works for you, because you may just realize it does work.
Well, that pretty much about wraps up our conversation on GM's new Ultium lineup and the conversation surrounding EVs. A very interesting last topic with the $7,500 incentive. That's going to make it a lot easier for a lot more people to get into a new car, especially a new EV. It's never been easier, and these incentives will not last forever, and I would advise you to take advantage of that now. Come in, talk to a knowledgeable sales rep, and see what we can do for you.